So we're rounding up business objective. So today we're going into behavioral theories, which is satisficing. We're talking about profit satisficing. It's an objective or a strategy where a firm aims to make good enough profit that would make that would not allow the shareholders to criticize them. So that is what profit satisficing is about. So we're not aiming at maximizing profit here, but we are aiming to ensure that the profit we make is good enough for the shareholders not to criticize us. That is what profit satisficing is. And most of the time, we have profit satisficing when there is what we call divorce of ownership. That means the owners of the business are separated from the business itself. So these are mostly likely to happen with big or large businesses, not small businesses or medium-sized businesses. SMEs now, because both SMEs and small businesses might have their owners working in the business. But for large businesses, they are likely to employ directors and managers who takes charge of the affairs of the organization.
CFO and CFO and all that.
Yes, those ones. So they are the ones in charge of the day-to-day running of the business. So they know more about the business. So what they need to do is to ensure that the owners are happy with the profit they're able to make because they want to also maximize their own rewards. So here it goes. Profit satisficing is a business strategy where a firm aims for a good enough level of profit rather than striving to maximize profit at all cost. So they just want to make good enough profit that will make owners to be happy. They're not going to strive to maximize profit because the directors and managers, they have other objective. That is where behavioral theories come in. So when we talk about behavioral theories, we're simply talking about factors that affect the behaviors of workers. Workers need motivation, and motivation won't come if you continue to share, if you continue to distribute the profit made to shareholders. So you have to start thinking about those that you are working with, your workers, your subordinates, because without them being motivated, you won't be able to achieve your goals, and that means you are a failure. You might lose your job as a manager. So because of these behavioral theories, managers always think about their employees, their subordinates, not just to give all the profit to be distributed to shareholders. That is why there's always profit satisficing. They want to make sure that the shareholders are able to get good enough profit so that they can also maximize their own rewards. Because if they are not motivated, then they won't be able to achieve their goals. So there's always going to be conflict of interest, conflict of objective between shareholders and employees. That is where behavioral theory comes in. I think you are getting it, right?
Yes.
So profit satisficing as an objective happens when the ownership of business is separate from the control. That's what we call divorce of ownership from control. Profit satisficing is easier because managers are directly in charge of the operations of the firm, which means owners don't have adequate information, but the managers will be able to make good enough profit that will satisfy the owners. This means owners must be aware that maximum profit is not being achieved. So, they won't be aware because they don't know. It is only because, you employ your directors and managers. So that means affairs of the organization is on their shoulders. So whatever happens there, you don't know. So what managers need to do is to ensure that they're able to meet up with good enough profit that will make shareholders to be happy. And if that is done, they will be able to achieve their own goals too. So according to behavioral theory, the firm will not aim to maximize profit, rather focuses on other factors that motivate people at work. Like I told you earlier, workers need motivation. Even to maximize profit, to make profit for your organization, you need to ensure that your workers are happy. With demotivated workers, if workers are demotivated, they will not be efficient. It will reduce productivity. Then how will you be able to make profit?
Yeah.
So if workers are demotivated, you are also going to lose your job as a manager. So that's why there's always going to be conflict. We want to make sure that the shareholders are happy. And at the same time, we have to keep our workers happy too. Because if our workers are not happy, then they won't be able to allow us to achieve our targeted objectives. So that is behavioral theory. I think you get it. So what are those things that managers will focus on? They will focus on recognition of their workers, pension entitlements, fringe benefits, and the rest. These things are both financial and non-financial motivators are what managers will focus on when it comes to their employees, their subordinates. I think the point is clear.
Yes.
So that's about behavioral theory when it comes to satisficing. There's profit satisficing, which simply means we want to make good enough profit that allows our shareholders to be happy. And at the same time, we will also target our employees to ensure that they are also happy. That means they are able to maximize their rewards according to neoclassical behavioral theory. I think it's clear.
Yes.
Any question about profit satisficing?
No.
Okay. Sorry. So that takes us to divorce of ownership. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. For divorce of ownership, no, I still have something here. So for divorce of ownership, I wrote, small firms are likely to have owners. Okay, small firms are likely to have owners that work with them. Okay, small firms are likely to have owners that work in their firms. They work in the firms, but this can also be true when it comes to when it comes to medium-sized businesses. However, in large businesses, owners are likely to appoint directors and managers to run the firms on their behalf. When this happens, it is called divorce of ownership from control. For small businesses, they are likely to have the owners working in the business. For medium-sized businesses, it is likely to be the same. But when it comes to a large business, which are mostly public limited companies, they are likely to they are going to employ or appoint directors and managers to take charge of the affairs of the organization. And if this happens, it is called divorce of ownership from control. So that means the owners are separated from the business. So the owner of large firms are likely to want to maximize the return on their investment in the company in the form of dividends. This can be achieved through short-term profit maximization. For owners, they always want to achieve the highest possible profit through their dividend. Dividends is the share of profit to owners. But the point is, this can be achieved in the short term where your marginal cost equals to your marginal revenue. But in the long run, the directors and managers will have different objectives to those of the owners. So here I said, however, it is important to know that directors and managers may not share the same objective as employees because they are employees, right? And as employees of the company, the neoclassical economic theory suggests that employees would want to maximize their own reward. Making profit must remain important objective for directors and managers as they have to be seen to be efficient enough to make profit to justify their remuneration packages. So the point here is because there's divorce of ownership, managers and directors have a conflict of objective to those of the owners, but they cannot think more about their own profit. They cannot think more about their own objective or interest without ensuring that profit is made. Do you get the point here? If they don't make profit, they will be criticized by shareholders, and the company might fall into the hands of rivals because they might lose the company. And if they lose the company, they lose their jobs. So no matter what happens, they must ensure that they are able to make profit that would satisfy the owners and the market situation. Do you get the point here?
Yes.
There's always going to be conflict of interest between directors, managers, and the owners of the business because there's divorce of ownership. But the point is, in as much as there's divorce of ownership and there's conflict of interest or conflict of objective, business managers and directors must strive to ensure that they make good enough profit that will satisfy shareholders and the demands of the markets. Without these two, they are likely to lose their jobs too. Do you get the point here?
Yes.
So they must ensure that they are able to avoid criticism from shareholders and also to be able to dominate the market. This simply means they must make huge enough profit to satisfy the demands of shareholders and the markets. So that is why profit must remain as an important objective for them. This is called profit satisficing. So we already talked about profit satisficing, right? So for firms, profit satisficing must be achieved because if they are not unable to achieve profits, if they are unable to achieve profit satisficing, they will be criticized. They will lose their job. The business might also fall into the hands of rivals, maybe through merger or acquisition. So this is called, okay, once managers are able to satisfy their owners, they are free to maximize their own rewards from the company. Then, because it is about profit satisfying, now the owners do not know, they don't have information about what happens with the organization, but they are happy because the company is making more profit and their dividends continue to increase over time. They will be happy. But as soon as that is achieved, then managers and directors will come back to their own objective, which is to maximize their own rewards. So that's why I said, as soon as profit satisfying is achieved, managers will be able to come back to maximizing their own rewards. However, the divorce of ownership from control is an example of what we call the principal agent problem. So now the problem is this: when it comes to divorce of ownership, you have the principal, who are the owners of the business, and you have the agents who makes decisions on behalf of the principal. But with divorce of ownership, there's always going to be principal agent problem. Why? The principal agent problem occurs when one group of the agent is making decisions on behalf of another group. The principal in theory, the principal in theory, the agent should maximize the benefit of those whom they are looking after. The agent are supposed to protect the interest of the principal, who are the owners of the business. So which simply means whatever decisions the directors and the managers make, who are the agents, whatever decisions they make, it has to be based on maximizing the satisfaction of the principal. On the other hand, that means in practice, agents always have the temptation to maximize their own benefits at the expense of those of the principal. So with divorce of ownership, managers and directors will think about profit satisficing. When you think about profit satisficing, that is not profit maximization. Profit maximization occurs when the firm is able to make the highest possible profit in the market. But with profit satisficing, it simply means you are making good enough profit that makes owners of the business to be happy because they don't have information about the market. They don't have information about your operations. So that means whatever decisions you make, there's what we call market failure there, principal agent problem. So what you think about is maximizing your own benefit rather than maximizing the benefit of the owners of the business. Okay. So that is the problem about divorce of ownership from control. I think it's clear.
Yes.
Any question about it?
No.
Good. And that ends business objectives.